We are finally seeing long overdue reforms that will make life just a little bit easier for renters in Victoria. For years, the Greens have been calling on a fairer deal for renters, for action to address that extreme power imbalance between renters, landlords and real estate agents, and for policies that treat housing as a human right, not a speculative asset. This bill contains some modest but important reforms that respond to the growing movement for renters' rights. One of the key reforms in this bill is the introduction of a portable bond scheme. It's a long-awaited change, first promised by the Labor government in the 2023 housing statement. The scheme will finally allow eligible renters to transfer their bond from one property to the next instead of having to pay a new bond up front while waiting for the old one to be refunded. Any renter knows how hard that double bond period can be. It's an impossible burden for people already struggling with skyrocketing rents and the rising cost of living. A portable bond scheme will mean that renters don't have to fork out thousands of dollars just to move homes. They can transfer the old one over to the new one. This bill also introduces new rules that require landlords and agents to provide actual, real evidence before making a claim on a renter's bond. I mean, that seems like it should be absolutely obvious because for too long, renters have lost all or part of their bond to unfair or exaggerated claims, often for damage that amounts to normal wear or tear, or just a landlord trying it on and relying on a renter's lack of time and headspace to be able to fight for what's rightfully theirs. Laura in my electorate had her bond deposit withheld from her for almost 2 years, waiting for a VCAT hearing after her landlord had made a bond claim saying that she had left items at the property. It was furniture the landlord owned that had been there before she moved in, and under these reforms, the landlords would need to bring receipts and show evidence to back up their claims. This requirement adds a layer of transparency and accountability to a system that has long been tilted against renters. It will help stop landlords from using bond claims as just another way to profit off renters, and it will discourage them from making claims that they know won't stand up to scrutiny. The bill also extends gas and electrical safety requirements to all leases, regardless of when they were signed, and mandates gas checks within 6 months before draft-proofing work is done. These are practical, life-saving measures, and we're really pleased to support them today. This will help prevent carbon monoxide poisoning and other hazards and ensure that renters aren't living in unsafe homes while landlords cut corners. Earlier this year, the Commissioner for Residential Tenancies reminded us of just how bad the situation still is. From a mystery shop of Victorian rental listings, 9% of properties had visible mould, 10% had inadequate window coverings, and 15% failed to meet even the basic standards for heating. Half the agents at those inspections couldn't answer basic questions about safety compliance, energy efficiency, or mould history, and 13 couldn't provide any information at all. That is unacceptable. Every person deserves to live in a home that is safe, habitable and healthy. And that's why the fact that this bill strengthens mandatory training for real estate professionals is a welcome move. Having compulsory professional development requirements and enabling the government to prohibit or approve training providers based on quality standards means that professional standards will improve, and we all know they really need to. For too long, renters have faced invasive, discriminatory and misleading behaviour from property managers with very little accountability. Mandatory continuing education is an important step towards fixing that culture and ensuring that renters are treated with the respect that they deserve. The bill also makes it an offence to charge renters for background checks as part of rental applications, a small but meaningful protection against exploitation. It empowers Consumer Affairs Victoria to publish clear guidelines on the records that landlords and rooming house operators must keep to prove compliance with minimum rental standards. These are welcome reforms. They are practical and they are long overdue, but they don't go far enough. Let's be honest. They are small steps in the face of a much larger crisis. The fundamental problem remains. Rents are rising far, far faster than wages. Rental stress is exploding and renters have very little power to assert their rights. Tenants Victoria's Setting the Price report from last month showed that 80% of landlords raised their rents in the past 2 years, with an average rental increase of 17%. 17%. In contrast, CPI increased by just 2.4% in the last year. The Everybody's Home Priced Out report from March this year found that Victorians earning $40,000 a year are spending up to 82% of their income on rent. Even those on average incomes are spending over half of their income, 52%, on rent. These are impossible numbers. People are being forced to skip meals, delay medical care, or move further and further from their communities because their rent has become unaffordable. Like Travis, who moved from share house to share house, never lasting more than a year, as every landlord either wanted them out or hiked up the rent so much at the end of the first 12 months they couldn't afford to stay. He's had 15 homes in 15 years, moving further and further away from his community and from his workplace each time. He's couch surfed and he's lived in his car. And the stats show it and the stories show it. Anglicare's rental affordability snapshot from April this year showed that not a single rental in Victoria is affordable for someone on job seeker or youth allowance. Not one. And that includes rooms in share houses as well. That is an indictment of this Labor government's housing policy and their failure to protect renters. We're hearing from renters across the state being hit with increases of hundreds of dollars a week. They're often just asking for basic repairs and their landlord retaliates with a massive, astronomical rent hike. These rent hikes are being used to intimidate and silence renters. And these unlimited rent rises are being used as de facto evictions. Parliamentary Budget Office modelling earlier this year showed that if rents keep rising at the current state, it will take the average renter 66 years to save for a home deposit. 66 years. The glaring omission in this bill is any form of rent control that limits how much rents can go up. Because right now, landlords can raise the rent by any amount they choose to, no matter how extreme, and it's pushing people out of their homes and fueling homelessness. Until unlimited rent rises are made illegal, renters will continue to live in fear of retaliation if they try to enforce even the most basic protections in this or any other bill. And across the world, from the ACT to Spain, Germany to Singapore, governments have introduced rent controls to stabilise housing markets and keep people in their homes. This is not a radical idea, it's common sense, and 3 in 4 Australians support it. The Greens will keep fighting to make unlimited rent increases illegal and will keep calling for a massive investment in public housing to bring down the cost of renting and buying a home so every Victorian has a secure and affordable place to call home. Everyone deserves a roof over their head. Everyone deserves safety and dignity and stability that comes with a home they can afford. This bill is a positive step, but until we rein in rent increases, the rental crisis will only deepen. The Greens support the Consumer Legislation Amendment Bill 2025, and we will continue to fight to make renting fair, safe and secure for everyone.